This afternoon, you're watching To the Rescue as ludicrous weather triggers raging powerful winter storms. More in store as this is only the beginning of Canada's coldest winter of all time.
You're watching AT.
Good afternoon, Ottawa. I'm regrettably reporting to you a devastating accident along Highway 417 involving 5 teenagers that took place earlier today. Clearly, as new drivers, the teens were not accustomed to driving in Canadian winters, resulting in severe injuries to the neck and spine for all passengers and the driver. Yet another accident that demonstrates to us Newton's laws. When driving in such conditions, traction is the most important thing to remember. When a car increases its speed, the tires have less traction on the road, which is what these teens witnessed firsthand today. As their vehicle was speeding down the highway on a mix of snow and ice, they quickly lost all traction and began hydroplaning. At which point the teens were no longer in control and their lives were left up to Newton. His first law says that an object at rest will remain at rest unless acted upon by another force, and that an object in motion will continue in motion with the same speed and the same direction unless acted upon by another force. When a car's tires do have traction, you are able to make turns and change your speed as the tires are able to do what the car tells them to. However, when a car has lost traction, despite how you steer, you are no longer in control, and Newton's laws kicks in when the car in motion continues in the same direction as no unbalanced force is able to act on it, resulting in a major collision with the car in front of them. This catastrophic accident will be a huge wake-up call for all drivers to remember that we are in winter now and must begin to drive much more cautiously due to ice, snow, and slush along the roads. We have physicist Tweet Dad with us here today to let you in on a few tips to ensure that you stay safe and arrive alive this winter.
Thank you, Abby. What a really scary situation for those teenagers. You're watching Tips with Tweet on AT News. Today we'll be learning about how to prevent further spinal and head injuries when in a collision. For my tips, you must always keep your seatbelt on and adjust your headrest to the right height. These 2 small tips can potentially save your life. Seatbelts should be worn at all times when the car is in motion. Seatbelts stop you from getting thrown around if there is a collision. According to Newton's first law, or the law of inertia, an object stays at rest or in the same state of motion in the same direction unless an unbalanced force is acted upon it. Typically, when in a crash, there is no unbalanced force on a person causing them to propel forward. Furthermore, when wearing a seatbelt, in the crash, you will be applying a force on the seatbelt when you are being pulled forward in the crash. However, the seatbelt will also apply a force back, because for every action there is an opposite and equal reaction force, according to Newton's third law. This will cause a deceleration in your action, making sure you don't fly out of your seat. On the contrary, if you are not wearing a seatbelt, the abrupt stop in the collision will force you to accelerate at the same state of motion as the car. In this case, with no seatbelt, there will not be an unbalanced force that will stop you from flying through your windshield in a collision. Secondly, you should always adjust your headrest to the correct height. This will prevent neck injuries. And whiplash happens when the neck muscles are suddenly distorted. This happens in a collision because when a force comes from behind the car, it causes your body to rapidly move forward while your head is bent back. Thus, the head will stay at a state of rest until an unbalanced force is applied. Consequently, if the headrest is adjusted properly, when the car is hit from behind, the body and the head will move at the same state, resulting in no uncomfortable distortion of the neck. On the contrary, here's a useful bonus parking tip. When parking on hills, we should always keep in mind that your car could roll downhill. To prevent this situation, you must always keep your emergency brakes on, and you should turn your wheels a certain direction depending on where you park. Whereas when you're parking uphill without a curb and downhill with and without a curb, turn your wheels to the right. When you're parking uphill with a curb, turn your wheels to the left. This is important to always keep in mind because your car could start rolling downhill at any time if you don't use these tips. As Newton's second law states, the acceleration is dependent on either the net force or mass of the object, as the car will start rolling down because there's an unbalanced force once the car goes from static to kinetic. And that's all for Tips with Tweet. Now back to you, Abby.
And there you have it, Ottawa. For your own safety and to save the lives of everyone else around you on the roads, the next time you get into your car, please remember to fasten your seatbelts, adjust your headrest, park intelligently, and always drive with extra caution, especially during these crazy Canadian winters. I'm Abby Duval, reporting to you live from AT News.